Well, good morning. Good to see you this morning. It's Monday on March the 8th, and glad that you've joined us here this morning on Coffee with Doc. I've got to confess to you before I get started, because you'll notice it before too long, that I'm not at my best. I'm not at my strongest. Um, I have a terrific source of pain across my back. And so I apologize beforehand for the grimacing and this, that, and the other. I went to the doctor on Thursday, and they did an X-ray. And the bottom line is I have a bad case of degenerative arthritis, and according to the X-ray, it's there. There's nothing I can do about it, but it's creating a tremendous amount of pain. So every once in a while, if I flinch or if I get real quiet or something, please forgive me. I'm going to try to get through Revelation here this week. And I'm not sure I'm going to make it, but I'm going to try to get by it. And thank you for your prayers. Well, we're looking at Revelation chapter 17 today. And in chapter 17 and 18, we're going to look a little closer at the beasts. You know, there's two beasts that we're talking about. First of all, there's the dragon. That's Satan. Then there's the beast out of the sea. That is the Antichrist. And then there was a second beast out of the sea, which is the false prophet. Now, when we come to chapter 17 and chapter 18, and I'm going to confess to you that I don't know everything about what these symbolize. There are a lot of people who think they do. I doubt very seriously that they do. The name given for the great beast is called the prostitute, or Babylon the prostitute. And then Babylon the Great. Now, actually, what we have here is we have two entities that are both called Babylon. And we're coming again to the end of the tribulation period. And the Antichrist has come against Israel. At first, the Antichrist championed Israel and had a treaty with Israel, and then the Antichrist broke the treaty in the middle of the 7 years, and became Israel's worst nightmare, literally. And then the false beast was given the power of the beast, the Antichrist, and the false beast turned the people of the world toward the Antichrist, in a sense becoming a false church as well as a false beast. And in chapter 17, that's what he's talking about here, is a false religious system. Now, there are a lot of people who think that that a one world church would be a great thing. The problem is the one world church is not going to coalesce around Jesus Christ. They're going to coalesce around false prophets and around false religion. And there is going to be a worldwide church, but it's not what you're thinking. It's not a good thing. And this false church is called Babylon here, the prostitute. So let me just jump in and just kind of read through this, and we're going to talk about 10 horns and 7 horns and 7 heads and dressed in scarlet and so forth and so on. And folks, if you see what is her name? I can't even call her name now. The vice president, Biden's running mate, whatever her name is. If you see her dressed in a purple dress with a scarlet scarf, no, don't go there. She is not the beast. In the first place, America's not even mentioned. I don't know how many times I can tell you this. I'm almost begging you and pleading with you. Let's jump into it and see what the Bible says. In chapter 17, it says, one of the seven angels, now these are the ones who had the seven bowls of God's wrath he's poured out in the last chapter. One of the seven angels who had the seven bowls came and said to me, come, and I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute who sits by many waters. Now, it hasn't happened yet, so he says, I'm going to show you what's going to happen. So with her, the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries. In other words, she has turned the whole world against our God. And in verse 3, it says, then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. In other words, a vision kind of thing, in the spirit into a wilderness. And he said, there I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and was glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. And she held a golden cup in her hand. In other words, this lady was beautiful to look at. She was adorned wonderfully. And, and her appearance was something to be lusted after. I mean, they lusted after this woman. And she said she had 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, we're going to see later on that there's been all kinds of speculation as to the 10 horns and the 7 heads and the 7 mountains, but it's going to become pretty clear to us that there's a specific thing that's mentioned here. He's going to explain it to us. So it says, without you speculating on what he is, it says she held a golden cup in her hand filled with abominable things and the filth of her adulteries. So we know already this lady is not a good lady. This lady is an adulterer. This lady is abomination. This lady is a prostitute. And this lady is the false church. She is a false church. Now we're going to see here in chapter 17 all of the attention given to the religious world system. And in the next chapter, we're going to see all the attention given to the commercial or the one world system of commerce, a global economy. And both of them fall. Both of them are referred to as Babylon. But here he's talking about the woman, the name, again, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought with the pain. The religious world system. And it says the name written on her forehead was a mystery because it was called Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and the abominations of the earth. Now, we know already from that description, this is not a good woman. This is not a good personage, okay? The mother of prostitutes and the abomination of the earth. And then he goes on in verse 6 to say, I saw that the woman was drunk with the blood of God's holy people. This false religious leader has been killing God's people. And he said it's filled with the blood of those who bore testimony to Jesus. And he said, when I saw her, I was greatly astonished. And then the angel said to me, why are you astonished? Why does this surprise you? I will explain to you the mystery. Remember up there he said, this is a mystery. He said, I will explain to you the mystery of the woman, of the beast she rides, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Now he's going to explain it to us. The beast which you saw once was, now is not, and yet will come out of the abyss and go to its destruction. It's talking about that time in the final days when this beast will once again come up after it's been defeated, and will come up for a short time and then be defeated for good. It will go literally to its destruction. He's talking about the devil. He's talking about the false church. And he says, the beast which you saw once was, now is, and yet will come up out of the abyss and go to its destruction. The inhabitants of the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast, because it once was, now is not, and yet will come. It almost sounds like a resurrection of some kind, coming back, but coming back only to go to its final destruction. That's why it says in verse 9, this calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads or 7 hills on which the woman sits. Now, we don't know for sure, but we do know that Roman is known as the city of 7 hills, that there are 7 hills surrounding Rome. We do know that Rome was the center point of the world during his time, during Domitian's time. We do know that that the Roman church will probably play a part in those end days, maybe even as this Babylon world religion. I don't know. I'm not saying that because I can't be dogmatic in that. But he says these 7 heads are the 7 hills on which the woman sits. And then they also talk about 7 kings, 5 which have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. And when he does come, he must remain for only a little while. In other words, it's not going to be a long-term thing. The beast who once was and now is not is an 8th king. He belongs to the 7 and is going to his destruction. Now, there are many who speculate that this is a revival of the old Roman Empire. And, well, it could be. I don't know. I'm not going to dogmatically say that because I don't know. Then he says the 10 horns you saw are 10 kings. Now, we know they are kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but we don't know who they are. There are a lot of people who will tell you they know who they are, but I'm just going to wait and let God tell me. And he says for 1 hour they will receive authority as kings along with the beast. In other words, their authority is going to be short-lived. They have one purpose, and they will give their power and authority to the beast. Now, here's the important thing. They will wage war against the Lamb. There you know whose side they are. They will wage war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will triumph over them because he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And with him will be his called, chosen, and faithful followers. We win. That's all you need to know about this. And then in verse 15, the angel said to me, the waters you saw where the prostitute sits are people, multitudes, nations, and languages. And the beast and the 10 horns you saw will hate the prostitute, and they will bring her to ruin, and they will leave her naked, and they will eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Are you getting it? She doesn't win. The false church does not win. For God has put it into their hearts to accomplish his purpose by agreeing to hand over to the beast their royal authority until God's words are fulfilled. The woman you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. It's going to be a worldwide religious leader that will fail, that will be destroyed. We win. Remember that and come back in the morning. Maybe I won't be hurting as bad, and we can get on with it into chapter 18. God bless you. Y'all have a great day.